What's going on, everyone? So, the upcoming Scream 7, originally going into filming, we only had like a handful of new cast members, right? Everyone else was basically returning characters. And like when that type of thing happens, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, if they have 2 or 3 Ghostface, there's only like 2 or 3 characters that it can't be, right? Like Sydney's daughter, are they really gonna have Sydney's daughter be the killer? Things like that. So there's like real questions about like, does this film have enough cast members and enough characters to really kind of follow through with the whodunit element of Scream? Or is it something where you're not going to be able to do that, right? Like it's going to be too incredibly obvious. It's going to be too much. But I've also made the argument in the past of Scream is something that if you've watched 2 or 3 of these films, you pretty much can deduce who the killer is. Right? Every Scream movie, there's only so many options. You figure historically, Scream has always had at least 2 killers, right? Obviously, Scream 3 only had 1, Scream 6 had 3, but all the other ones been 2 killers. So it's a fair assessment to say that there's probably going to be at least 2 killers. So, when there's like 6 new characters, and okay, well, out of these 6 characters, only 2 or 3 of them can be the killer, and you can kind of process of elimination that. But it also, the more characters that you add and the more characters that are involved, the harder it becomes to kind of figure out, okay, well then who's Ghostface and who's not. But also you run the risk of kind of diluting and or convoluting your film, right? Like, and just having too many characters, right? Like example, Scream 5, right? You had so many people that were really excited about like Vince, and then he dies 30 seconds into the film. It wasn't like 30 seconds, but you only got him for like 30 seconds in the film. And then he ends up dying. And then, even Wes, people really loved Wes, but you weren't really able. So you end up getting to the point where you're never able to properly develop these characters. You're never able to properly grow these characters the way that you need to. Something that I've really talked about heavily is a lack of character development that we've seen in the particularly Scream 5 and 6, in my opinion. It felt really lacked proper development of characters, and that was very disappointing to me because I really enjoy the character building and the character development and the things that can provide. And us, like Annika, right? She dies. Why are we supposed to care? Why do we care that somebody we saw for like 30 seconds in a movie died, right? It was a cool death scene. Okay, Mindy's girlfriend, we feel for Mindy, but the actual death itself isn't impactful. But you look at things like, Scream 96, and it's like, that was an impact. You had impactful deaths, right? Like, you had when Tatum died. It hit. It was like, oh man, right? Like, Randy, Scream 2, when he died, it hits, right? Because you had these characters, you built these characters, you had these characters that we fell in love with. Well, we have more and more characters that are continuously being brought on. There's tons of still casting calls that have been brought up for various characters and stuff too. And we still have, so we just got like a new deputy that was hired. I did a whole video on that. Check out that video. We've gotten like a bunch of casting lists. They're hiring a new cameraman, right? So there's another probably like 5 or 6 characters that they're looking to fill the roles for. And we also have a handful of characters that we don't know who the actors and actresses are. We just know the characters that are going to be in this film. And that is Grandma Evans, right? We got a mental patient. You got Robbie, who's supposed to be the new reporter in this upcoming film, and kind of like bug and mess with Gail. You got Sydney's youngest daughters. There was a casting call for that a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, for Sydney's youngest daughters, who are supposed to be with the grandmother at the time that all the Ghostface attacks and everything take place. And then a stage director, which this was news to me at the time of recording this video. So you have here, 3, 4, 5, 6 new characters, plus they've brought in 2 or 3 new characters. They're looking to hire another 2 or 3. I mean, at that point, you're looking at like 15 new characters total. Now, Grandma Evans and the 2 Sydney's daughters, probably not in the movie very much, if at all. right? You're probably looking at them for, a handful. Same thing with like a stage director. How much are they going to really be in the film? The only ones that are really like intriguing is the new reporter, as well as like the mental patient, the new hiring that was announced in the new deputy, right? So there's like a handful of characters that you're like, okay, how are they gonna play their role? Like, who are they gonna be? How are they gonna factor any of these like openings and kills? Could any of them be Ghostface, right? Can any, and there's just a lot of kind of questions that get begged whenever you get these announcements or get this information and stuff. But you look at kind of like the core four, right? You've had 2 movies with the core four, and we still don't know who they are, right? We still have no idea who they are as characters. That's really frustrating to me, right? Like, Chad, we know he was like a jock and like the protector of the girls, but like, who is he? Like, what is he as a human, right? Like, and same thing with Mindy. Outside of her just going on like impromptu rants about like horror movies and being in sequels and franchises and stuff like that, like, who is she as a character? Right? Like, it's just, I mean, Sam, the character of Sam was so bad in Scream 5, the general consensus was get rid of her, she's terrible. Right? Like, and then Scream 6, people really came around to her. People loved Melissa Barrera, but it was just the character. People were just like, man, like, this was just a terrible character, right? And then, I mean, Jenna Ortega's Jenna Ortega, and she's really came into her own as an actress and, her career. But still, it's just like, I want to see us unpack some of these characters a little bit, right? I want to see us really dive into, backstories and just kind of like what's going on in their lives, and, get some dialogue to really kind of break down who they are and give us like a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, right? You can't just like have characters out there and they're just out there just to be out there, and they're just like, say a couple lines and we're all just like, oh man, we love them, right? Like, no, there has to be substance to it. There has to be reasoning to it. It has to make sense, right? Like, and, like I said, you just look at Scream 5 and 6, and I just felt like the development of these characters, it was just kind of like they were just there. And it was just like, oh, they're all friends. They're all in high school. It's like, okay, well, Chad's the jock. Well, how do you know that? Well, because he's wearing a Letterman jacket. Oh, okay. Right? Like, like you look at Randy, you look at Tatum, you look at these characters, right? There was depth to them. There was substance to them, right? There was things to get behind. It wasn't just like Randy is the video nerd, right? Like, you got to see, like, his passion and love for Sidney Prescott, right? Like, yeah, he's a bit of a nerd, but he's kind of like the cool nerd, and he hangs out with the cool group. And like Stu was a ladies' man. Everyone thinks that he's not, like, he's a little goofy, but like, you listen to the way that people talk about him, so like he's had like 6 girlfriends before Tatum, like in the week before they started dating and stuff like that, right? Like, you get these little tidbits of who they are as characters and the back and forth dialogue of each character and all that stuff. And it's just, I want them to get back to really telling a story. And I worry that, if you get too many characters in this film, you're not going to be able to do all that, because you're going to have too many things that you're going to have to hit. And like, yes, some of these characters aren't going to be in the film very much, if at all, but still, like, that's 30 seconds or whatever that a character is in the movie that you could have spent 30 seconds kind of building a character that you're trying to grow your franchise with, right? Or to tell Sydney and her story and her relationship with her kids and her father or her husband and stuff like that, right? Like, all of those things. So I don't know. I have some concerns, but I even talked about, like, when we were starting filming and we got like the little small cast. I even said, like, I actually kind of like the idea of a small cast. Scream 96 was tiny. I mean, seriously, like, there was only like, 7 characters really that mattered in Scream 96. So, like, that's the thing. If you can kind of keep it tight, keep it small, it just makes it easier to grow and develop those characters and tell the story that you want to tell with those characters. So, just things to keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Agree with my points? Disagree with my points? Are you excited to see all these new characters that are being added and all these stories that are going to be told in this film? How do you feel? Love to hear it either way. So please let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot as we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.